The story of Donyale Luna is very complex yet intriguing. With the time period Donyale was famous in, there were many worldly events going on around her, from the civil rights movement to the hippie culture. She was captured in full effect. Today, we celebrate Donyale with her meekness yet misunderstood personality. She is credited for being one of the first Black supermodels to cover the British Vogue magazine. And today, we tell her story. Here is Donyale Luna.
Cabaldo, I told you to keep this ship steady.
It is steady, sir.
Are you contradicting me?
Sorry, sir, you're right. There's a strong wind coming from the northeast.
I don't care where it's from. Stop it.
10,000 more you owe me.
10,000 more. 10,000 more I owe you. Rack 'em up.
Peggy Ann Freeman, also known as Donyale Luna, was born on August 31st, 1945 in Detroit, Michigan. Her mother, whose name is also Peggy, was of German and African American descent, while her father, Nathaniel Freeman, was of African American descent. Her mother was a domestic worker and her father also worked at the Ford Motor Company. Donyale had two sisters, Lily Ann and Josephine, who she was strikingly different from. She stood at a very slender, tall frame with these oddly beautiful features. She was known for being artistic and also creating a different world for herself to escape her troubled home life. Throughout her childhood, her sisters would describe her as very weird. Even from birth, they said that she had this whimsical dream-like about herself where she would destinedly create realities and create different origins about her background. While attending Cass Technical High School, Donyale was known for being a theater kid and loving performing arts, journalism, many different languages, and also she was in the school choir. Now, this is around the time of 18 when she created the persona Donyale Luna.
Parades and displays. Donyale, welcome. Be seated. First, the name, Donyale Luna. Is this a real name?
Yes, it is. It's part of my name. My complete name is Peggy Anna Donyale Zazia Luna Freeman, but I just cut it short and use Donyale Luna.
What sort of racial mixture do all those names come from?
You name it, and it's there, everything. It's like a melting pot of, say, different nationalities, different people, everything.
You have the most spectacular blue eyes. Where do they come from?
That's a secret.
Where did you get into modeling? I believe you haven't been in this very long.
Well, I started modeling about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This April will make 3 years. It's very funny. It's like a Cinderella story, you know? I was going to school in Detroit, Michigan. I was studying acting. And at that particular time, I was very rebellious. I couldn't stand, people who wore suits or, the typical, say, beatnik black girl. And one day, a photographer by the name of David McCabe came to Detroit. And he saw me and he thought I was, so fantastic. And he says, "You must be a model." And I says, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Well, here's my card. If you ever come to New York, please look me up." 5 minutes later, he ran back to me and he says, "You've got to come to New York. You've got to do this and that."
He looked you up?
Well, no, not that. It's, he knew something that I didn't know. And so he said, "I'll give you a plane ticket. I'll give you anything you want, but please come." And at that time, to go to New York was like a dream. It was like Emerald City, like,
Finally, in October of 1964, Donyale would move to New York City to pursue modeling and acting. Now, let me tell you this was before the drugs happened. She moved to New York. She was fresh. She was clean. Didn't know too much of anything about the modeling industry. As her ventures in New York began, Donyale would get a job as a junior secretary, and she will also join the Actors Union while getting an apartment on Broadway with a roommate. What makes Donyale so different is the simple fact that she had her persona. The industry didn't have to go in the lab and make something up for her. No, baby. She was larger than life. As she navigated her way through the fashion and modeling industry, Donyale would link back up with David McGay, the same man that pursued her back in 1963 in Detroit, telling her that she needed to come to New York to be a model. David introduced Donyale to a team of people that would push her into the spotlight. She had an editor from Harper's Bazaar named Nancy White, a fashion photographer who would serve as her manager named Richard Adine, and also a senior fashion editor by the name of China Machado, who actually signed her to her first modeling contract in 1964. Donyale would end up working with Woody Allen and starring in a shoot called Mademoiselle, and this was actually one of her first gigs as a model. Donyale would see racism and experience it within the modeling and fashion industry. As she worked as a model for Paco Rabanne, she would see how reporters would spit in his face because he decided to use Black models only in his fashion show. This would prompt Nancy White to use Donyale's likeness and sketch her as an ambiguous character on the Harper's Bazaar magazine, which would make Donyale the first Black woman to appear on it. Yes, Donyale's form of modeling was racially ambiguous, unfortunately, but fortunately, she had to push the boundaries and contort herself in different type of ways to appear on these magazines, and it caused a lot of issues with people within the Black community because they couldn't understand why would she conform to something like this. But some people didn't realize that she had to push herself outside the box to even get on these magazines, to even work with these people, to even be classed as one of the first Black supermodels to appear on these magazines. As Donyale's career was on the rise, trouble was sought off at home. In January of 1965, Donyale's mother, Peggy, would fatally shoot her father, Nathaniel, in self-defense, reporting cause of abuse. This news wouldn't reach Donyale until 3 months later. The death of her father cut Donyale really deep. She decided not to go back to Detroit to attend the funeral, but instead, she built a coping mechanism around her, getting deeper within the modeling industry. This would cause for issues to happen later on, where she would have a nervous breakdown and would have to spend time in a hospital recovering. Towards the end of 1965, Donyale said she had enough of America, with the color bar going on, Jim Crow, and also certain fashion designers did not want to put a Black woman in their clothes. So she fled New York and went to Europe, and this when things really started to kick off. America didn't know what to do with Donyale. She was larger than the picture. And with her going to London and also exploring different parts of Europe, this is when her personality would really shine. There were so many things going on in the 60s, like I said before, with Jim Crow going on in the States, but also a cultural revolution going on in Europe, in London as well. There was so much that she could have drawn from. And when I tell you, within a couple of months of even being in Europe, Donyale would land herself on the cover of the British Vogue magazine in 1966, March to be exact. Although she was making trailblazing moves and paving a way for other Black and people of color to come after her doing what she did, most people in the States did not see it like that. They felt as though that Donyale Luna was, I guess, selling out and becoming more racially ambiguous and not talking about Black issues and Black politics that was going on back in America. Most people who were in the Black community felt like she just didn't care about what was truly going on. Although she didn't have the right words to speak upon it, so she decided just to keep quiet. In the same token, it was also wrong for her to also speak about wanting to be white, wanting to have blonde hair and blue eyes. And most people felt as though, like, so you're already doing racially ambiguous modeling, and now you're talking about you want to be white? Like, girl, please stop. You are from Detroit. You have Black parents. Yes, you have German in you, but you are fully a Black woman. So why aren't you embracing your Blackness? I think she ran away from her blackness because she got rejected so much in America. And when she came to Europe, she was embraced. That doesn't make it right, but I can't tell you how she felt because I'm not her. I'm just reporting the news of what was being said within these documentaries and what's being said on these online forums. She was rejected by America time and time again, but as you can see with these displays of these covers, she was on the cover of Elle, on the cover of Queen. She went to Paris and did her thing. She was embraced by Europe, but she was not embraced at home. She craved acceptance and love from America, and they would not give it to her. They compared her to a freakish figure like King Kong. While living in Paris, Donyale would take more modeling and acting gigs. She would grace the cover of Elle magazine of July in 1966. Unfortunately, while she did live in Paris, she would try acid for the first time and she loved it. They said that she liked having that outer body experience. She was trying to escape the pressure from the modeling and the fashion industry. Regardless of what the tabloids said about Donyale, she was making her way around the world as an international superstar. She would land in Sydney, Australia in 1967, and she would do many modeling gigs out there, but especially she would appear on a catwalk in Sydney called the Donyale Luna Spectacular Fashion Walk. Just like any other renowned celebrity, Donyale was linked to a lot of famous men. She dated Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. She also dated a Dominican actor by the name of Juan Fernandez and an Australian pop star by the name of Martin Sharp. It wasn't until she moved to Italy in 1969 when she found the love of her life, Luigi Casaninga, an Italian photographer. He spoke no lick of English and she spoke no lick of Italian, but they made it work. Luigi and Donyale would later marry in California in 1976, and in the following year later, they would have a daughter named Dream, who Donyale named after the Martin Luther King speech, I Have a Dream. Donyale would travel back and forth between America and Italy for different types of work. She would grace the cover of the Playboy magazine in 1975, but her career did take a downward spiral due to the simple fact that she was on that heroin. It played a really big factor. Nobody wanted to work with her because her behavior got really erratic. It got really strange to work with her, and people say that she became dependent on drugs such as heroin, LSD, and marijuana. Now, I thought this part was very interesting. It was stated in 1973 and made to be exact at the Cannes Film Festival. Donyale wanted to pitch her life story to a European and American film production company. Just so happened, Berry Gordy happened to be there supporting Diana Ross, whose new film was The Lady Sings the Blues. It sparked some interest, but some people didn't decide to pick it up, her pitch. But later, Donyale was stated saying that she proclaimed that Berry Gordy based her life story off of the movie called Mahogany, which came out in 1975. If you see Mahogany, it's kind of parallel to Donyale Luna's life, but do with that as you will. As this video comes to a close, I wish there were more interviews about her as far as her speaking. Like, I know it was in the 60s and, technology wasn't the best, but there are a ton of pictures of her. I thought it was very strange how they tried to erase her from the history, and also how these photographers had her doing all this one-eye symbolisms. Nevertheless, her and Luigi were estranged when she passed away, and she passed away on May 17th, 1979 at the age of 33 from a drug overdose in Rome. So, with that being said, she is survived by her family, of course, her fans, her husband, and her daughter, Dream. If you would like to watch that documentary on HBO, it is called Donyale Luna, a Superstar. And this concludes the story of Donyale Luna. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks for watching.